Welcome to Doc Talk with Monument Health. Summer is here, and today we're talking about two things every family needs to know before heading outside. First, Dr. John Tronnes walks us through what actually happens to your body in the heat and what to do when things go wrong. Then Dr. Tamra and Dr. Kyle Lemley join us to talk sun safety for kids. Everything from sunscreen to swim shirts to spotting dehydration before it gets serious, coming up on Doc Talk. And as we get ready for summertime, speaking of the heat, one of the big things that's on this list is heat stroke. And I was pretty fascinated by this because I don't think I really know what it is. Can you explain heat stroke?
So, I mean, it's a big topic as far as heat stroke because there are, from mild to severe versions of it. But in general, it's just internal body temperature is raising higher than it should be, which causes the body's physiology to do all sorts of weird things, causing it to shift fluid and things like that to places where it ought not to be, to try to cool your core temperature down. And that'll lead to low blood pressure, passing out, end organ damage, things like that.
And I think a lot of people, when they're outside and they start to feel this way, I don't know, I really don't know how many people understand that, something's really wrong, right? So what are like some of the initial signs of when you're outside, you're doing yard work, it's 98, you should have got up earlier to do it, obviously, waited until later. But what are some of the first signs you'll feel when heat stroke comes on?
So your body will, manage heat by sweating, things like that, and trying to dissipate heat. But there will be a point sometimes where the body will stop sweating. That's oftentimes a bad sign where it's like, oh, things are getting a little bit too far. And then lightheadedness, black spots in your vision, things like that.
So stopping sweating. What if you're somebody that doesn't, well, your body would normally do, everybody's body should sweat, right? Are there ever instances where some people can handle it better and they don't as much?
Yeah, some people handle heat better, and those people might not be as prone to heat stroke as other people. But no, I mean, everybody's going to sweat to some degree from certain parts of the body. And,
Then what's the first step you should take if you start to notice this happening?
I mean, if you're out in the heat and you're feeling lightheaded, you're getting kind of black spots in your vision, I mean, get to someplace cool. If you can get inside with air conditioning, or if you can get under a shady spot and try to hydrate as much as possible. The interesting thing with it is that your temperature will actually go up. So your internal body temperature will go up, but the external sources that will often do, like temporal scanners or even oral or ear temperature, won't always be super accurate. So I learned a lot about heat stroke from a doc who managed the St. Paul Marathon. And the St. Paul Marathon happens in July in Minnesota, where the humidity is 80% and the
Have they thought about maybe a different time? I don't know.
I think they should. But heat stroke left and right happens out there, and they'll have human-shaped tubs full of ice to get people into. And he says every person that comes through his tent has to have a rectal temperature done, because that's the most accurate way to find out, is this person's core temperature actually getting up to those scary 103, 104 points. And so, if you get inside and you're trying to cool down and, ice on the head, you can even do an ice bath and drinking water, and you're just still feeling lightheaded, vision's poor, people will get wobbly and shaky towards the end there and get weak. Getting into an ER where we can give people cold fluids and things like that to get their temperature
So that
down.
would be the step you would recommend people going to an ER or an urgent care right away to get in when that's happening.
Yeah, for sure.
All I heard when you were saying this, really going back to the whole rectal temperature thing in a marathon, I'll see another reason not to run. All right. Well, that again, we don't. I mean, we have a good 3.5, 4 months out of the year maybe where it can be serious here, right? But I suppose heat stroke could happen. Like in the wintertime indoors somewhere too? Would that be?
I've never seen that.
Really?
No.
It's more of an outdoor under the sun.
Yep.
Thing for sure.
Body exertion. I've seen some mild cases. They have I think a half marathon in Deadwood in the summer, and every once in a while we'll get some, because apparently they like to do a marathon and then go downtown and drink alcohol, which isn't great for your body's internal temperature, heat stroke, and that's when they'll start coming and vomiting. We'll see that sometimes when people get into bad heat stroke. And so No, I haven't seen a ton of cases here in South Dakota since I've been working here for 2 years, but
Really?
yeah, that tends to be the big ones, is where people are physically exerting themselves out in the heat, and oftentimes inadequate hydration will play a role into that as well.
So shade and hydration would really be the two big things you
For
can
sure.
do. I mean, even if you have to be out in the sun, make sure you've got a gallon of water with you
Yep.
to just keep pouring back. I suppose another big issue that happens here in the summertime, and again, we don't have huge windows for this, but heat exhaustion and heat stroke and things like this when kids are out playing. I don't think a lot of times you think about that, because if you remember when we were growing up, we'd go out, we'd play, you'd get really terribly sunburned, which of course is another big deal. You've really got to be careful of what we've learned can happen as you get older. But how do you what steps do you take to prevent that when it's a nice 90-degree July day and your kid wants to be outside the whole time?
Hydration.
Really?
Water's great, but the hotter it is where you're sweating more and more, you need to start having electrolyte replacement. So like Gatorade, Powerade, any kind of electrolyte kind of a drink is better when you're sweating more like that. And then making sure that you're taking breaks to stay hydrated. Kind of the early onset of those heat style injuries are just heat cramps. So if you notice your legs are cramping or your arms are cramping, that's kind of the first sign that, hey, I maybe not be as hydrated as I thought and maybe losing more electrolytes than I thought. I should chill out for a little bit, maybe even stop for the day, but at least get hydrated, make sure they go away before you keep going.
Well, how do you recognize that in like really young kids that may not understand what's happening? How do you as a parent recognize that?
I mean, if they're still like in diapers, you're you're watching for just kind of their urine output. Are their diapers as wet as they normally would be, the nice and plump, kind of deal when you change them. So if you're noticing a decrease, or even a toddler, like, are they going to the bathroom? Is their pee turning a darker color than what it normally is? Would be,
Are
your
they not
younger
wanting
kids.
to keep playing?
Right. Are they getting tired? Sometimes kids will complain even of like a headache. What I was going to add to that is we're definitely in a drier climate up here. It's not nearly as humid, and so it's a lot easier to not recognize how much you're sweating because it evaporates so quickly versus like we grew up in the South at 110% humidity. So you knew you were losing all this fluid because your clothes were just drenched with sweat if you were outside. So you, I think, thought about drinking a little bit more just because you knew you were sweating, whereas up here, I mean, maybe the armpits of your shirt are wet, but that's it. Like, you're not just covered in sweat. And so kids don't have that, like, physical reminder of, no, you've actually, lost a lot of fluid. Instead of drinking more.
We don't feel, because we're 8 months out of the year, we're in jackets and flannels. I mean, I'm in a flannel now, and it's early June. But I don't think we think about it in a lot of instances because it's just a nice day.
Right.
And we get to be out in it.
Right. And then going back to the question, you can get heat exhaustion and then heat stroke. So
what's the difference?
Right. So the easiest way to think about the difference is, are you sweating or not? Like, is your skin moist or is it not? So if you're starting to have headaches and dizziness or other symptoms other than just cramping, but you still have moist skin, then you're at heat exhaustion. If you're starting to lose consciousness, but you're going to have dry skin, for sure, that's a heat stroke. And obviously, both of those can be life-threatening. Both of those are really serious. You need to get to an emergency room because at that point, you're probably so dehydrated, you're probably not going to be able to just replace it orally with just fluids and that kind of stuff. So just making sure that you still have wet skin versus dry skin is the easiest way to think about the difference.
Oh, that's okay. Very interesting. Yeah, I guess I wouldn't have made that connection.
I'm not the smartest person. I have to have easy ways to remember stuff. So,
well, it's been working. Now, is there recommended sunscreens now? Because boy, the debate on this has been just everywhere, right?
SPF 15 to 30 is really all that you need.
Really?
They're looking at. They're still doing more research to see if anything greater than 50 is even helpful or not. But most people are good with 15 to 30. That's kind of the big one. And then what is it? Oxybenzone?
Yeah, the oxybenzone. You don't want that in your sunscreen. It can mess with your kids' hormones, is what they've shown in the research.
But any sunscreen is better than no sunscreen. So even if it has oxybenzone in it, it's okay, but if you could find it without it.
That would be better.
That would be better.
And then the other thing, like for babies, like 6 months and under, you can't put sunscreen on babies. So it's just not recommended, period. So then you're looking at protective clothing, barrier, sun hats, the long sleeve swim shirts, sitting in the shade, under the umbrella, that type of deal. So even if you were going out to the lake or the beach, like having a little beach umbrella so that you're just blocking the sun's rays from the baby.
Okay.
And then even after that, like above 6 months, toddlerhood age, the barrier clothing, like all the swim shirts and things are going to be kind of your best bet. You don't have to remember to reapply if they're wearing a long sleeve shirt sort of deal.
Yeah.
I will say that the quality matters on those. They do wear out. After so many washings, I don't think they're as effective. We actually had one of our sons, we were out at a lake, like doing a lake day one year, and had on swim shirt, but it was a white one, and I just think it had been used too many times, and he ended up sunburning through it. Just say, wasn't thinking, hadn't paid attention, and if they had their swim shirts on, I didn't sunscreen underneath them.
Of course, yeah.
But just something to kind of think of as well.